Hello, my name is Taylor Hicks, and this is my report on the effects of radiation on our environment due to the nuclear explosion in Chernobyl. So on April 26, 1986, Chernobyl's power plant exploded and sent enormous amounts of radiation and radioactive particles into the air. This power plant sustained total energy for all of Pripyat, Ukraine. They had energy reactors that produced neutrons, and those neutrons split into uranium atoms, and those uranium atoms produced heat and steam. That heat and steam would go into the turbines, more specifically looking into reactor 4. So those reactors unfortunately produced too much energy and could not escape that energy, causing that reactor to explode. This was unfortunately due to a faulty safety test that was due by some of the scientists down in reactor 4. This created a buildup of a new chemical called xenon. So that xenon created again an enormous amount of heat and energy and a buildup of it, and it had nowhere else to go, so it exploded and again sent all of that radiation into the air. It also sent it into the soil and into any living organisms that were in the immediate area and also the surrounding areas as well. We can see this predominantly in our environment, more specifically in a place called the Red Forest in Chernobyl. So this radiation integrated into the tops and the deep soils, and this changed or destroyed plant growth and genetics completely. It also did it throughout generational development of plants. So this either had them again die off completely, or it created a whole new ecosystem. This applied with that vegetation and the living organisms that were in the area. Given the amount of radiation materials in the atmosphere and water supply, it became so contaminated that the ecosystem and those living organisms inside of that environment either stayed exposed even after they left, or they became too exposed and died off because of those radioactive symptoms. This event provides a great understanding of the effects of radiation on our environment, and we continue to have new data come out from Chernobyl with how our environment reacts to radiation in the immediate present tense, and also with the future of those generational developmental new growths. This is all due from a thing called health surveillance. So this not only surveillances the ecosystems, but also the general public as well. So due to the deadly symptoms of the radiation from the nuclear explosion, this caused long-term biological effects, not only in the surrounding area, but again also those living organisms, causing that chain reaction to where that water supply, the soil, the vegetation was inhabitable. It was died off from that radiation, causing those living organisms like humans to be affected from those deadly symptoms as well, and also from those inhabitable environments from not being able to have clean water and also good food as well. The most interesting thing I found within doing this research was coming across the changes in both plant genotype and plant phenotypes. So this really changed the genetics and the physical appearance. So again, like the Red Forest, we see these brown reddish trees and these very died off looking trees. They're not green, they're not flourished, but they are sustaining life because of the adaptability that they have created from the radiation and from that genetic regrowth and new DNA that they sustained from growing within that radioactive soil and environment. We see that even throughout plant generations, that again, this DNA, it still has radioactive particles within it, but it is sustaining life, very surprisingly, with the amount of radiation that was spewed into the atmosphere due to this explosion of these reactors. It caused this big thing of even where parts of countries like Europe were getting alarms through radioactive particles of their radiation stations because of the amount of radiation that was spewed from Chernobyl. So it was all very interesting, but definitely the plant sustainability of life within radiation and having radioactive particles and materials in its DNA really interested me. So I hope you guys found that interesting as well, and thank you guys so much for listening to my summary on my report.